We're working on it, guys. We're working on it. It's all brand new to me. I swear, there we go. Scotty's on it. Man, it wouldn't be a stream with me supposedly in charge without someone picking up the pieces. Scotty, we are back. I am back.
We're back,
You're
mate.
back. Oh, it's been some time. I'm pretty sure our last live stream, at least together, was halfway through a cyclone. So
I think it was. I think you were sitting in a car. There was a cyclone blazing away. You were on a phone trying to get service, hoping that your house wouldn't disappear in the middle of, what was that cyclone called now? Alfred?
Old Alf.
Like that. Yeah, it's been a minute. Obviously, we've forgotten how to drive the technology in that time. Such is life. Such is life.
Yes, there has been changes to StreamYard, so it's not just all my fault, and I'm definitely not putting any blame on you. So,
look, it's Friday night at the end of the week. You know, if we have a couple little tech glitches, so be it, Mitch. So be it. How are you?
Yeah, good. Been very busy. As to the lack of streams, yes. There has been a distinct lack of them. Work's been busy, but we have been moving places. My partner and I, we've changed places twice in the last 6 months. So that's been busy on that front. But personal side, very well. I'm just recovering from a cold. So hopefully don't lose my voice in the next 2 hours, and hopefully don't lose my voice over the weekend. So enjoying a nice liquid beverage to keep the throat liquidated.
What could go wrong? So what are you doing over the weekend? Maybe we should start there. What is this talking you're doing this weekend?
Yeah, so we're gonna keep on rolling through with a bit of vintage action. Now, vintage muster over at Chargers RC. That's where we're going to be kicking things off this weekend for. I dropped in today quickly as we were on our way to the job, well, on Smoko, I should say. We were finishing off a job about 2 minutes down the road, and I got to quickly pop in to say good day to a few people, pick up some cold and flu tablets that Dom lovingly dropped up to me. So that worked out quite well. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm sure we'll discuss more of that pretty shortly as well. We have got a fair bit on. We have got a fair bit to talk about. I know what you're thinking, Scotty, as well. Every time we say we're going to keep it short, it ends up blowing out to about 3 hours. So what we're going to do the opposite and say this one's going to be a really, really long one, 6 to 8 hours probably. Yeah. We're going to be going until about 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So with that luck, we might finish in half an hour.
At some point, we'll just start streaming the European Championships, and we'll just commentate for ourselves over the top of the guys from RC Racing TV.
Yeah, they don't. They don't.
Quali will start there about 8 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah. No, been keeping an eye on that as well. It's been good, and we'll talk more about that shortly as well. I'm looking forward to that. Here we go, Tony, already on it as well, taking side bets. How many hours it will run? Yep.
There was a request from Ty Beale that we delay the start until 10 p.m. because he's got something else on. He couldn't be here at 6, so he really wanted to just for us delay the start. So we could still be going at 10. He'd be really happy. I think, that'd be a nice Friday evening for him. Not
I won't
nice
be
for anyone else, for the two of us to go for 4 hours.
By then.
No, yeah.
So yeah, a lot to cover in this. Lots of major events have gone in the last 6 months that have gone somewhat unnoticed for the streaming sort of side of things from myself. I know that you've been tackling a bit of it from a media perspective, which has been good.
Yep.
And we'll discuss a lot of that in this. Well, may as well kick it off quickly with one of the events that was cyclone affected from my position, at least, with the Kilo Invitational.
Yeah, you were meant to be there but couldn't go. Is that right? It's way back now. How's my memory? Yeah. It's like the end of February, early March, something like that.
Yeah. So I was meant to be making the trip down to Kilo. It would have been my first invitational race calling event, which I've realistically had it on the bucket list for years now. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, first cyclone to hit Gold Coast decides to just cruise on in at the same time as when we were meant to be flying out. And it hampered a lot of the Queensland drivers, which was pretty painful. I think we touched on that during the cyclone feed or the cyclone stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sort of hampered a lot of people, hampered myself included in that. So it was unfortunate.
Yeah, people were trying to either go early or just not able to go. It was that very same weekend. Yeah. Such a great event, such a great club and a great venue. And yeah.
Oh, here we go. What 10 o'clock? Delay it for 10.
Maybe Ty's meant to be taking Louisa out for a lovely Friday night dinner, and he's just said, "Look, honey, I've just got a couple of jobs to do before we can go out for dinner." Something like that. I think that's the story.
Yeah, hopefully. Work to do, isn't it? That's the excuse. Work to do. We'll postpone it for a few hours. And
so tell me about this. Tell me about this Keilor Invitational. What happened at that race?
Yeah, Keilor. Once again, as we mentioned, awesome event, bucket list event for anyone, whether it's an invitational side or if you can just go and race. Anyone's open to go and race it. There is an open class.
Yeah.
As for the racing sort of side of things, they're modified. Now, I haven't got the stock side other than the overall, but the modified, Lachlan Monday had a great run in two-wheel drive. He ended up winning the two-wheel drive segment. And Lachlan Donnelly ended up coming back in four-wheel drive and took the four-wheel drive segment. And with Invitational, it's a combination of both two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive points. And that goes in to find the overall winner of the event. And so Lachlan Donnelly ended up winning the overall for that event in modified. And really, I feel as if the last sort of 12 months, we've actually seen Donnelly really starting to sort of go into a strong purple patch, pretty dominant. Like he's been strong for the better part of the last 2 to 3 years, but man.
But the last 12 months. Yeah.
The last 12 months had just been really dominant. So
I don't think you can overstate how impressive it is for him to go to Victoria, to Keilor, and win there against people like Lachie Monday, Jordan Issagen. Those guys local know the track. They're so fast. They can win anywhere, but to beat them at home. And I know there has been an oil track in Sydney. It's been closed for the last year or so. But I just think, for Donnelly to go down there and win that, that was a really impressive start to the season for him. Yeah, really impressive.
Yep. Yeah. Over to the stock side, Justin O'Connell gets the stock overall win as well. And that's a strong performance. So, but yeah.
That's a start to a good year for him as well, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. Justin's been driving good lately, but that's a really strong start to a season. Yeah. Some big events obviously coming up still later in the year with nationals and stuff, and it'd be good to see Justin heading on down there for that and putting his best foot forward.
Yeah, he just took a win on the weekend at the Vic Titles as well in four-wheel drive. Still kicking on. It's good steering.
I think Dan Collar won two-wheel drive.
Two-wheel drive, yeah.
Yep. Had a great showing as well.
Yeah.
We'll move on now, unless there's anything else you want to touch on with the Keilor.
No, charge on. Lead on, Mitch. Lead on.
Let's crack on. We can't muck around with tonight. We got time schedules.
We do. And Ty's just waiting to go in to see the F1 movie. I think we just got that update from Ty.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie, Mitch? Have you seen?
No, I haven't. No, I love watching Formula One, but I've sort of been putting off the movie because I've been skeptical about it. But I've had a lot of people say it's really good, so I'm sort of like, I should just bite the bullet and go watch it.
There's one scene that I rolled my eyes at, but the whole rest of it was really good fun.
Was that the building the cars for battle?
No.
Okay.
No spoilers. No.
Okay, no spoilers.
It's good fun. Good fun. He wins. Somebody wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've probably watched about the movie length time period in reviews of the movie. I probably should just watch the movie.
There was a great piece out from McLaren last week of Brad Pitt driving their actual F1 car at Road America or Circuit of the Americas, Circuit of the Americas, which that was a really good piece, and he kind of shows you how big a deal it is for a normal person to drive one of those cars. Well worth the watch. Yeah. Let's not turn this into an F1 podcast.
We're doing it again. We're doing it again, Scotty.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll shut up. You go.
Okay, over to ARCR at Mitchell Park down in South Australia. So AstroTurf, first state title, I believe, on AstroTurf. I believe we ever had a
one last year.
Oh, did they have one last year?
They probably had maybe last year's as well. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's the only. Well, there's a club in southern New South Wales running on Astro, isn't there? I can't remember the name of that club, but it's South Australia's been the only state champs run on Astro so far. Yeah.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good event as well. I was down there for that. It was one of my 3 race events that I'll actually get to attend and have a run myself probably this year. And I went in with the sort of thought process that I probably won't enjoy the Astro aspect, but I'm going to enjoy the drivers that'll be there and, all the other aspects along with it and stuff. So I went in with low hopes and I absolutely had a blast. Like I said, I didn't expect to. I loved driving on the Astro. It wasn't what I expected by any means, but it was significantly better than I expected. So that's good. I was really impressed with it.
So nationals are there this year in November. Yep. Entries are open. But before we get to the results from South Australian champs, like go to Adelaide it's November, isn't it? I think.
I believe so. I do have it on my calendar here. I think I was the first to enter that as well, Scotty.
Okay. RC race date. RCracedate.com for all your race dates. Mm-hmm. Just getting a plug in for Tony. That's for you, Tony. Sorry, Mitch. I've distracted you again.
No.
This is going. It's going so well.
So smooth.
Who won? Who won in Adelaide?
So modified Jack McMillan won 2-wheel drive, and Jared Ment got the win in 4-wheel drive. Yep. And Jack's been quick lately as well. He took a win down in Victoria, I believe, as well.
Recently. Both, I think he swept 2 and 4-wheel over the weekend. I've got the results here somewhere. Let me just confirm that I'm not telling lies. He won 4-wheel over Lockie Monday and Jordan Isagen, and in 2-wheel, Isagen was 2, Monday 3. So the podium top 3 were the same. But yeah, it's really impressive for Jack. He's going good. And I thought Jared going down there and winning on Astro was pretty impressive as well. I think he went and did some work down at that Southern Highlands, the track in New South Wales that's Astro. Okay. I remember him going and doing some work there before he went to Adelaide. So that you have the skills and you do the work, you get the rewards. And so, both those guys would start kind of well favoured for the Nationals later in the year. Let's do another podcast before then. We'll preview the Nationals. Yeah, after the Worlds, we'll preview the Nationals.
Hopefully, at least we start to get into a more routine sort of side of things. We're slowly going to start kitting out the room so I don't have to have these pop-up lights. If you saw my lighting system at the moment, I'm going to have to show you, Scotty, because it's actually really, really bad. So I'm going to just tilt all the way back here. And hopefully it doesn't over brighten it, but it's actually a light bar that is currently being held up by some tire bands.
Do you know what this is, Mitch? This is riveting television right here. 2 words, riveting television.
So this will improve. I swear. I'm currently underneath my old bed that we made. Haley and I made this loft bed.
Too much information, mate. Too much. Let's talk 2 cars. Let's. Jack McMillan, Jared Ment, Adelaide, Astro, top job to those gents. Mark them down for the Nationals as 2 of the guys to watch for sure.
Yeah, for sure. No, they both drove incredibly. I think for me, to be honest, I'd say Jared Ment was probably more of a surprise win out of that event. Drove incredible. Like he really drove well. But just, as you mentioned, to come down from New South Wales where probably not a huge amount of knowledge on Astro to come down and have a really good result. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. Over to Toowoomba, heading out to the sticks. Now, this was an awesome event. Something really different.
Queensland Championships, right? This is just in June. Yep.
Queensland 10 scale off-road. Usually a track that doesn't hold a huge amount of 10 scale racing realistically. They're more of an 8 scale focused track. They do hold on club days if they get the numbers, a couple of 10 scale races and stuff. They'll always try to get them on track as well. But generally speaking, it's more of an 8 scale orientated club. They have the King of the Hill every year. And that's a pretty large event. Quite often it'll attract interstate drivers, that sort of side of things as well.
Yeah. Mainly 8 scale, that is too, isn't it?
Yeah, that is predominantly an 8 scale event. I think last year or the event just gone, they did have 10 scale as one of the classes. They quite often have short course, that's in 4-wheel drive short course.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's generally an 8 scale club. They hosted the first 10 scale titles up there. And that was a really cool event. Really, really low grip conditions. So it was a bit of a struggle for anyone driving a Chargers or used to driving a Chargers to convert from that to virtually no grip to getting around. Bit of a challenge.
Proper old school slippery. Yeah.
Old school slippery. You had dust, you had roost coming off the back tires, 4-wheel drive, front and back tires. But yeah, just a really cool track. The track evolved through the event as well, blew out a fair bit in certain sections, was tricky. You saw the top drivers making mistakes, such as, Phoenix Eggleton, Christopher Sturdy, even Rob Maycock, as well in the stock class as Rob Maycock and JP. JP was strong, which we'll talk about quickly in a second as well. Winners for that was both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive mod was going to Christopher Sturdy.
I think if I understand right, Phoenix Eggleton got within a whisker of, in 4-wheel, into the last final. He was in the mix and had his chances and got caught out a little bit in the last final, but he was right there.
Yeah. Phoenix definitely got a little bit unlucky out there. It's part of racing to get caught up a couple times, unfortunately, but had the pace, was right there. Small mistakes, but once again, that was going in both ways. Sturdy making mistake early, I think, in 2 of the 3 races, which allowed Phoenix to get past in both those instances. And, from there, Phoenix looked strong. It was hard for the passing, around that track, but there was opportunity. Sturdy was strong when he was trying to catch Phoenix as well, bridge the gap, and then, a couple unfortunate incidents for Phoenix, but it's all part of racing, unfortunately, and he'll bounce back from that and take the fight to Sturdy in the next one. So, but yeah, so Sturdy taking the win in both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive mod, and 2-wheel drive stock. Going to a long, long time racer, and I'll let you do it, Scotty, because you've known him for quite some time, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, John Perkins and I raced together in the 80s. So that's the 1980s, Mitch. That was actually a decade that, probably you've only heard rumours about. John and I, along with another fellow called Chris White, were the OG 2-wheel drive modified racers in Queensland. And JP's he's just been there or thereabouts, that whole time. He's taken a break, but he's come back. He just never goes away in terms of, on the track. Like, he doesn't make many mistakes. He's just right there. And for him to win actually his first Queensland Championship is my understanding. I was super excited. I was watching the results live at the time and super pumped for John. He's really good fun to race with. He's clean, he's fast. And to get that win, to kind of put that one on the mantelpiece is very, very cool. So that's one of those kind of good news stories in RC that we bump into every now and then. And he was out there at the track today at Chargers, warming up for the Vintage Race, where he'll probably kick my butt tomorrow. He's a good fella. Everyone loves him, and everyone was excited to see him win that race. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. He had a great drive as well. Out of all the drivers there, and I think I've said this to a couple of people, JP was probably the most consistent by a sizable margin when it came to 2-wheel drive. Yeah. And that's what realistically got him over the line. I don't think he would have made many, if any, mistakes during the finals, but definitely through qualifying, he was just there. It was right on the money. So a great result from JP. In 4-wheel drive, we had Rob Maycock. Finally had a good run in 4-wheel drive. He struggled quite a lot in 2-wheel drive. He wasn't too far off, but could tell he was having a couple of issues, working the track out. But got there in the end in 4-wheel drive. So
yeah, he's consistently fast in stock wherever he goes, isn't he? So no surprise there. Pretty cool. Actually, I thought on the podium as well with him. John Perkins again, but Jay Denman. That's a nice result for Jay to be on a podium at a Queensland Champs. So, kudos to Jay. That was a nice one.
Yeah. No, exactly right. And Jay obviously not doing a massive amount of 10 scale. I don't think he's done much at all leading into this event. Yeah. Actually, I believe I saw him today at Chargers as well.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So I think he might actually be doing a bit of vintage racing as well. I'm pretty certain that I saw him during my Smoko break. Smoko break, Dom. It's okay. I wasn't just at the track. All right. But yeah, I'm pretty certain that I saw him trackside, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him again tomorrow. So
I hope he's there. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
International guest Mitch Logan Toya checking in to say good day.
Hey,
G'day, Logan.
Toya.
Nice to see you. Looking forward to seeing the Kiwi boys go at it at the Worlds. Got a good team of half a dozen, 6 or 7, something like that, coming over, including Logan and Dylan. So
yep,
that'll be cool.
No, really looking forward to it.
Just pay attention to the movie, Ty. Stop watching the live stream.
There we go. Rob confirming it for us as well. Yeah, he was there. Yeah. So yeah, Jay Demon. Yeah. Trackside. We'll see him again tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now over to probably the most recent and largest event so far this year, I'd say, into the 8 scale side of things. And something that had quite a big hand in as well, being part of the media crew there, would be the Asian Buggy Champs round number 3 held at Pine Hills.
Yeah.
Take it away, Scotty.
A great race. Round 3 of the 2025 series, as you said. First round kicked off in New Zealand back in March at Counties. Such a cool track at Counties in New Zealand. And we started the series there with Jaden Edmonds taking the Nitro Buggy win, his biggest of his career, really, in terms of wins and, against a quality international field. I think it was Caleb Noble might have won electric and Truggy as well. I can't quite remember now. And then we went to Manila to the Philippine Masters, that kind of, which is an epic event. That was round 2. We've not talked since then. Big field, probably the biggest Philippine Masters field that they've seen there in the history of the event, which dates back about 14 or 17 years or something, like, a couple of decades. The big story there in the Philippines was Koki Kato taking the win in Nitro Buggy, Davide Ongaro and Burak Kilic battling it out at the front, and then both of them failing to finish. And Kato had been kind of just tucked in behind them a little bit, and he took over the lead and was just faultless. And the shout out for me on him is the speed with which he's been improving over the last 12 months. Let's call it 2 years. He went to the 10 scale worlds 2 years ago at, finished kind of midfield. He was there. He did a lot of work, but since then has just done the work. And, to see him take that win, he'd won a round of the series last year as well, but to the Philippine Masters, his biggest win. I think it was Ongaro who won electric. They had that, that huge fight between him and Pekko Ivanen. The sad story is that race at the Philippine Masters at that incredible track at Circular Verde, right in the middle of Manila, the last on that venue. At that venue, the club had its last club day a couple of weeks ago. I saw some photos during the week of the driver's stand all being kind of pulled down and pulled apart. And that track, which has been phenomenal racetrack and racing, and the whole crew, the whole team, Edward Seo and the whole team that ran that venue. It's, kudos to them, but and there'll be a new venue they're building, there's a new place, and there'll be, the Masters will be born again in a different venue, which will, I'm sure, be very good. But it's still sad to see that one go. And then, that led us to round 3. So Pine Hills a couple of weeks ago, big entry, 200 and something cars, 92, I think it was, the e-buggies, and some amazing racing. We'll get to the results in a sec. But Pine Hills Dirt Racing, the host club, did a fantastic job. Rebuilt the track, whole new layout, or reused some bits, but essentially a new layout. I want to ask you about that, Mitch, because that layout, uniquely when you arrive there now and see that layout, there's no main front straight, and that's quite unusual for a racetrack. You raced in the event, the surface, the oiled surface, we know all about that kind of high grip that generates, especially when it gets hot. What was that layout like to drive with no main front straight? How'd you like it?
I loved it. I love a technical track that is easy to drive, but hard to drive quick. Yep. I don't personally drive it quick, but I like the easy to drive part. The lack of the front straight, or a straight in general, is something that is really unique in our hobby. Yeah. Generally speaking, you almost never find a track that doesn't have pretty much a full length straight. And it not just wasn't a full length, but it wasn't even a half length straight realistically.
Yeah.
It was just a segment that was pretty much the same length as the pit straight or the pit lane,
the pit lane. Yeah.
On the front straight.
Yeah.
And that was realistically the high speed section of the track, other than, say, over the far right hand side coming down the hill. Those were the two fastest segments of the track. The cars were, generally speaking, either braking into a corner or accelerating out of a corner. So it was very, very technical in a lot of ways. Yeah, Toya saying it best layout I've driven there for sure. I loved it. It was really, really fun. I thought there was a lot of overtaking opportunities.
Yeah.
There is nothing better, I think, in our hobby than having option lines as well.
Yeah.
Because overtaking has gotten harder and harder with how technical our cars are nowadays, that a lot of top drivers are always on the same racing lines doing the exact same thing. To have that option to be able to, say, go over the inside and avoid a bump, or to go to the outside and hit a jump onto a tabletop, I love that. I personally found the inside line where there was a ramp into a tabletop section and then you'd sort of jump off. The opposite was the inside line, which was sort of a little jump, but you don't go all the way onto the tabletop. You sort of bounce onto the face of it and then pop over the tabletop. I found the inside line, where you're just popping over the top, a lot more comfortable. And I think I did that out of maybe the 1,000 laps I did there. I probably did it 985 times because I just found it so much easier. I didn't find it that much slower.
1,000 laps, impressive. I did a clubby there a couple of weeks before the race, and I found that as well. I was, maybe I was a tenth or two faster on the other line, but I would crash every now and then. Whereas on that inside line, very consistent, downside the tabletop, and off you go. I'm calling it the old man line. For old men like me, the consistent, nice, easy one. But I was watching Ben Sterling. He was using that line sometimes as well, and you maybe lost a little bit. I think Logan Toya, he's kind of there saying it's the best he's driven on. I did a round, kind of did the rounds of the pits a couple of times over the weekend, and pretty much universal praise for the track layout. And that, and the whole facility, Pine Hills, it's no accident that the Australian round of the series lands there, because it's a great facility, fantastic team, with Ty and Zach and the whole crew. And they worked hard in difficult conditions at times. We know, it rained on and off over the weekend, and there was more than one occasion where they were out there trying to get the track dry and blown down and ready for us to get back on. So big ups to the crew, to the team from Pine Hills, and great racetrack. On the track, let's see, Masters, the main class, Masters, the 45 plus, Darren Perry and Ben Panic, as usual, kind of inseparable. That this year, the Pine Hills round of the series mirrored the other rounds in that not doing separate qualifying for the Masters, just finals. That's kind of how it works at other rounds of the series as well. I think Ben Panic took the Nitro Masters, Darren Perry the Electric Masters finals, but those two were just at it the whole time, along with people like Darren Keynes and Simon Healy and all the usual suspects. Electric Truggy, let's see, that was a Ben Sterling kind of benefit. Somebody came second, Mitch. Yes, there he is. The borrowed Truggy, first turn to wheel, round one of practice on Thursday morning. No, did you run it on Wednesday, open practice? You had a couple of runs, or? No, you're on mute.
Muted. There we go. I'm back in again. Didn't have a body for it on Wednesday, so my first runs were on Thursday morning, I think during seating practice, if I'm correct. And sort of learnt a lot in the first run, that the car was very much so set up for Toowoomba. It was a borrowed car from Michael, and massive thanks to Michael for letting me borrow the car. But you obviously set up a lot for Toowoomba. Needed a couple of revisions come the second round of seating practice, and so chucked a couple extra things on, mainly to do with springs and sway bars. Shock oil I'd already done beforehand, because shock oil is so crucial there. And after that, it was awesome. It was perfect to drive. And it was wicked fun. I've never driven an e-truggy before, and that was just good fun,
I particularly enjoyed A1, where you got to the lead on the second corner, and then halfway around the first lap, it was like I don't really belong
Yeah.
here. I'm just going to move aside and let Ben go through on the inside. Cool. We were all cheering. Come on, Mitch, make a race of this. But
Look,
Sterling, yeah, he was pretty dominant in that class.
yeah, I saw the gap open up right in front of my eyes. It was definitely a bit of a Bradbury moment, but it was too early for a Bradbury moment. I could see Sterling went way too long on the tabletop, which blew him wide into the next corner, and I just chucked it down the inside, and he was on the gas hard. I could see he was trying to get back in front of me. I sort of just gave him the old block pass, get out of the way. It's my turn, but I could see that. I could see what was coming. At least he was, once his tires had got into the groove, he was over me like a rash. So
I think you sold us all short. You could have defended for 6 minutes and 55 seconds, no problem at all. No, it's good, impressive from you, but very impressive, Ben Sterling. Nitro Chuggy was a great win for Jackson Beale. Cool to see Jacko. That's his first win in the series. He's been at a bunch of the races, both here in Australia and in Manila as well, every round that we've been over there. He got to the lead when Caleb Noble ran into some mechanical troubles pretty early on, I think maybe 10 minutes in to that half-hour main. I've got the results here. I can probably be more specific than pretty early. 16, so around half distance. Noble fell out. That gave Jacko the chance to just run away with it. Cool to see him win. And a great podium. Christian Lose driving a 12, 13-year-old Mugen Truggy to second on the podium. Very, very excited. And Liam
awesome.
McCown-Smith, one of the other local kind of Southeast Queensland guys. Very cool kind of podium.
I was pitting right next to the Lokes. And man, they were so stoked when, first of all, like qualified reasonably well with that car. They were going, oh, the car's not completely crap. It's actually driving really well. And Christian was loving it. He was so excited about the fact that it was somewhat competitive. And to have him end up third on the podium with that car, that was cool. That was really cool. And to be sitting right next to them, it was awesome.
So that's the two truggy classes, and so that brings us to the buggy classes. So electric, on a junior final, Phoenix Eggleton got the better of a really good race actually between he and Jared Cook over the first half of that 10-minute junior final, and then a big shout out to, I think we've probably talked about him before, but rounding out the junior podium, Brisbane kid Tyler Connor, only been racing for 18 months, something like that, and like is absolute talent. As they build in experience and build around the mechanical knowledge and the setup knowledge and all of that, he and his dad, Jason, like that is Tyler Connor is a kid to watch over the next couple of years. I mean, just in terms of pure natural talent, I think that was his second ever time driving an 8-scale car. And he, I think he was in the C final and in electric against 90 other people and then podium in junior. So that was cool. That takes us to electric buggy. Like I said, there was 90-some entries. The main final, in fact, really the whole weekend, I thought looked like there's a stack of talent, stacked field. Getting in the main was hard. We'll talk about a couple of the people that did. But at the sharp end of the field, the whole weekend really looked like being the raw speed of Alex Benadzik v. the consistent, never make a mistake, kind of beautiful driving of Koki Kato. That's how it looked like it was always going to be, and that's how those electric finals played out. Benadzik would get out front, maybe make a mistake. Kato would be right there, get to the lead. So 2 of the 3 finals, Alex made the little tiny mistake. Kato was right with him, got through. So Kato takes the win. Prototype Infinity buggy, they're going to run that at the Worlds in a couple of weeks' time over in Portugal. Benadzik in turn. Tyler Jones, his first time out of the US at all, makes the big flight from the US down to Australia and rounds out the podium. A couple of other notable things. Oh yeah, go. Yep.
He was driving with a broken wrist as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He had a cast on the whole weekend.
Accident. Yeah.
Yeah. So solid effort from that.
I think he had his cast reset just a few weeks before he came to make sure that he could hold a radio.
Yeah, right. And I saw he got it taken off only a couple of days later as well. So after he got home, he looked like he got it taken off. So, but yeah.
Very cool to have him at the event. And speaking of people cool to have at the event, Pekko Ivanen is now a real big supporter of the series. He'll go to round 4 in Indonesia in a few weeks' time. We'll talk about that in a second. He's there. Atsushi Hara, who has just become this kind of global superstar, legend, statesman, genuine good guy. So great to have Hara there. And I thought for making the final, we had some young drivers making the final. So 3, TJ Kripiri, local South East Queensland, Zach Foster, South Australia, Dylan Toyer, the irrepressible Dylan Toyer from New Zealand. To have all those 3 make it into that electric final. Probably Zach Foster's no surprise because he is a talent. But very cool to see TJ back in that final and to see Dylan make his first main outside New Zealand. Pretty cool in electric. Yeah. Anything else catch your eye, Mitch, in terms of that electric field in the finals?
Just outside, between young guns once again, Dylan Toyer and Phoenix Eggleton. I think they were separated by time. I think it came down to a couple of tenths of a second, if I can remember correctly.
Hardly anything. Yep.
Yeah, which Dylan just bumped in and bumping Phoenix out. So Phoenix ending up running in the B main, which the B main alone for electric buggy was incredibly strong. Like it had Walker Spinrad making the trip over from the US. Didn't have a great run realistically when it comes to electric. But we knew he was going to be quick come to the finals realistically. He had a great couple of... I think he had his final qualifying round. I think he had I forget now, but it would have been a solid top 10 result.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't quite enough to get him into the A main. And
just missed out. Yeah.
So put him into a good battle with the B main.
So he and Eggleton split the wins in that B main. Phoenix getting the win by the faster time. The margin between the two of them in 2 separate races, 0.4 of a second. So nothing between the pair of them in that B final series. You can see there, Phoenix took the win in B2 in a time 0.4 of a second faster than Walker's win in B1. Look down the list there. Oh, Mitchell Pratt. Are you just putting the B final results up on screen, mate, because you were in there? Is that what's happening here?
Not at all, Scotty. Not at all.
Performance. Pretty stacked B final field, and even a stacked C final field. Where is the hype around the C main, Jaden?
C main. Jaden, wow. What happened? What happened, Jaden? Come on, let us know in the comments.
What didn't happen? It could be a long comment of all the things that went on.
Jaden having an unfortunate weekend to say the least. When it came to e-buggy,
didn't go his way. Yeah, no, that's right. So Nitro, which continues, like the electric is huge. Nitro still feels like it's the class. It's the class that it means more. It means more to kind of everybody. I'm just trying to find the Nitro B final because that was a pretty impressive run. Zach Foster got out in front. So qualified 11th straight in, 3 bumped. Zach Foster got out in front of the B final and just ran away, demolished the field, won by more than a lap. Ben Sterling was in 2 and Walker Spinrad kind of just getting there, working his way into the final. Deep into that B final, Darren Perry actually was in second for a moment, made a tiny little mistake, and then Spinrad got around him as well. So it was a B final that had everything. Ben Panic was in the transfer spot for the longest time. It really kind of bounced all around. And there's a couple of other names in that for Australian racers who don't know some of the international guys. Adrian Wikisono, Indonesian owner or kind of chief person at Westside Raceway, where we'll go for round 4 of the series in a month's time. And Jamil De La Cruz, who's from the Philippines, where he's been in the A final at the Philippine Masters against, big quality field. So a couple of quality drivers. Jonathan Yung over from Hong Kong, his first time in Australia. Pretty stacked B final field. And that sent us to the A final, and we were anticipating some kind of epic race. The conditions, it was there that everything was set for it. We had Benadzik starting out of 1. You had Kato right there. Tyler Jones was in 3. Ivan and Caleb Noble, who'd had a quiet weekend by his standards. Everything was set for what looked like it would be fantastic. We were watching some rain coming in off the beach and kind of got the final started as fast as we could because that looked like it was about an hour away, that rain that was coming. Unbeknownst to us, while we were watching that rain on the radar and getting the A final started, a tiny little storm cell popped up literally right on top of us. So 10 minutes before the final, there was nothing on the radar except that rain offshore. That's what we were watching. And then a storm popped up 12, 13 minutes into the final. And So we can't, we have to acknowledge that. We didn't get to have the full run, but what we also can say is Alex Benadzik, top qualified, led from the start and was leading at the time the rain came down. And everyone knew at the start of that final, if the rain arrived before the end, whatever the results were at the time the track became undrivable, that would be the result. And that's what happened. So Benadzik, top qualified, led the final, go to woe, the rain came down, he was in the lead, that's it. Probably the story of the final is Jones and Kato. Jones getting into the side of Koki Kato halfway around lap 1. That, kind of delayed both of them. At the end of lap 1, I think they were back in about 11th and 12th, something like that, well back. And, 5, 6, 7 seconds off the lead. So that for Kato in particular to recover to second, and he was right behind Benadzik when the rain fell. Pretty impressive. Ivanen had his chances. He led at times for a few minutes around the first fuel stop. Wasn't quite able to hold that lead, and Benadzik got back to the front. And then the rain fell, and that was it. So we were set. It looked, we'd had Benadzik was in the lead. He's fast. He'd made a couple of mistakes. Kato had recovered and was right there. Pekka Ivanen was right there. There was hardly anything between the three of them when the rain started to fall. Would have, could have, should have been an amazing race. We didn't get that, but we did get Benadzik taking the win. First time he's won an Asian Buggy Champs race for 2 years. He won the first year of the season. The series visited Pine Hills when he won, I think, both classes back in 2023. So a well-deserved winner, top qualified, led the final, did the business. Kato, that's the first time he's been at an Asian Buggy Champs race and not won. He has quite the track record. I think when we go to Indonesia, where he won last year, he'll be pretty keen to get back on his winning way. Otherwise, in the final, all the normal names. Mitch Hay, like Caleb Noble, was looking actually better in the final than he'd looked all weekend. Jones was recovering. Beale had run as high as 4th. Hara dropped right to the tail of the field on the last lap. He'd recovered. Zach Ryan's there, Foster, Logan Toyer, and Jaden Edmonds, actually both of them doing a great job to be in both mains. I think the first time both of them have been directly into mains on oil, or in Australia at least. So pretty cool to see that continued progression of some of the Kiwi crew. And we'll see Logan and Dylan and others at the Worlds in a few weeks' time. That, I think, is about it as far as round 3 of the series. Round 4, Indonesia in mid-September. Only one thing to say there, well, 2 things to say. Track is incredible. So if you want to go and do a race internationally, that racetrack, Adrian's crew, it's a beautiful kind of medium traction clay, amazing. Steve Perry with the comments. And the other thing to say is that, of course, not only will it be a great race in its own right, it'll crown the champion of the series. Kato, Ivanen, Edmonds probably are the 3. Hara's kind of in the mix as well, but probably you'd say Kato and Ivanen. Edmonds is carrying, it's a drop your worst, best 3 out of 4 kind of setup. And Jaden's probably got to carry 1 too many midfield A final results, whereas both Ivan and Kato have, got a couple of top 3 positions each. So that'll be the battle for the series championship. Christian Wallater, the defending champ, not there because he was in the US for the Wicked Weekend, which we can talk about. I'm going to stop talking now, Mitch. It's your turn. So that's Asian Buggy Champs. That's the update. Fantastic race coming up. Pine Hills was awesome. We got ripped off by the rain, but what can you do?
Yeah, definitely very unfortunate. And there is a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
I was watching it from the side of the track that we could actually see the rain coming directly at us. And so we were just about counting down, first of all, counting down the minutes. Yeah. And then we could just about see the rain coming over the hill and going, okay, well, it's there. Like we could see it coming towards us. And that was it. And it was really unfortunate because as you mentioned there, Jones and Kato getting together really early on, first lap around, and then just putting them right to the back of the track, sort of voided a bit of a race that we'd all been looking forward to for the entire race, or for the entire event, I should say.
Kato was 6 seconds back at the end of lap 1, and in 9th position. So that's kind of where they were after a lap, 9th and 10th, I think.
Couple of things to mention out of that. one thing that really impressed me, other than the fact that Kato's drive back towards the front was impeccable. It was incredible to watch. I felt very focused in on knowing that Pecco's going to come back through, and knowing the speed that he had was he was still a chance at winning the race and coming back to fight Alex at least. But the biggest thing that I noticed is through the pit stops, he seemed to just jump just about everyone. He just appeared from about sixth all the way up to into the battle for first, second, and third, literally out of nowhere. And I have to go back and watch how he's done it.
He should. It's almost a classic kind of F1 style overcut. So he stayed out. He ran a lap longer than most of the guys. So most of the guys pitted, and then he stayed out. Actually, took the lead through that pit stop cycle. So while he went past while Benadzik and Ivanov were in the pits. So he just had 2 or 3 really clean, kind of clear laps, and he made progress. Let me see if I can spot the lap times, because we should be able to see where he took his fuel stop. So he had a 3 in a row in the 31s, a low 32, 32 flat, then pitted, and then came out going bang, 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 31.6, 8, 31.1, his fastest lap of the race. Like he just got in the groove in that kind of 3 or 4 laps before the pit stop. Stayed out, had clear track while everyone else was kind of the pit lane was pretty busy. But he just, all of a sudden he went from 4th or 5th, right on the back of Alex and Pecco.
So I found that to be an incredible, just a really, really well played decision. Don't know whether they pre-planned that. I'm guessing they probably did, knowing that they could get that little bit extra, or a couple more laps out of it. But man, that was really impressive to sort of watch that happen just in front of it, to see him pop all the way from 6th, 5th, maybe a 4th, all the way to in the battle.
I mean, do you want a better pitman in your corner than Masayuki Miura? I mean, there are very few pitmen in the world with the experience that he has. I think he was on the gun when Atsushi won his world championship in 2008. So, that is a man who knows from the tactical side and from the pit side how to, do the business, and to have him in the lane, kind of calling the shots while Kato blazed away up on the driver's stand. Pretty cool team. I keep talking about him, but I think he's the real deal, Kato. And I think, we'll talk about the world's warm-up in a sec. He was top 5 or 6 in both classes there. He's come such a long way in the last 18 months, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next year or 2 holds for him. I think he's a quality driver,
And I don't know, when we're talking about languages, you can speak multiple languages. Now, this is going to seem off task and stuff, off topic. What's the word, Scotty, for being able to drive on-road, off-road, 8 scale, 10 scale?
Yeah.
He could do everything.
I mean, he's multi-talented, isn't he? Multi-discipline, a multidisciplinary driver. And there aren't many of those in the world at the moment. You'd probably say Orlovsky, Bruno, Kuki. And those guys are not, Bruno is now running some 8 scale on-road, but Kato runs it all. And he's good. Yeah.
So, look forward to seeing him again down in Sydney. Yeah. And as you mentioned, we'll talk more about that shortly as well.
Yeah.
So that pretty much wraps up the ABC portion of this, I believe, at least. Actually, no, there is one. I think there is one more thing to mention. Lossy drivers.
Yeah.
And the distinct lack thereof.
It was pretty quiet. So, I mean, TJ, we talked about making the final, in what's turned out to be one of his last races with TLR. We didn't have some of the South Australian crew that we have had some other years. I've heard, I don't know whether Andrew Ford is still running or not, or whether he's taken a break, or I'm not sure the status for 40, but definitely a shame. And it's, we're going to go into this World Championship, this 10 scale World Championship next month, and there will be no TLR drivers in the mix to be in the final. And that's, that's the first time we would say that at a World Champ since 1989 when they first, were on the scene. And they're still good cars. You can still go buy them, you go run them, but they don't have a world standard kind of team now. And bit of a tear in my eye, Mitch. I'm a bit sad about that. They're one of the OG brands of hardcore racing, and in 8 scale they've been at the front since the release of the 8, that incredible kind of car when it came out. A shame.
On top of that, I personally was at the world titles, obviously over in Arizona. The last world titles, the last 10 scale world titles, a TLR two-wheel drive won the two-wheel drive portion of the world championships, and then to go to the very next world titles 2 years later, and then not to be a paid or any TLR driver realistically attending the event.
Not a front-running driver, no.
It's devastating, to be perfectly honest. It is a shame. It's a real shame to see. So I hope that they do sort something out in the long term, but it's interesting, that's for sure. But
otherwise, I mean, it was a great race. Good, the track surface, that oil surface, most in Australia are familiar with that, and there's a bunch of tracks around the place now that are going in that direction. The Philippines track had gone in that direction the last 2 years, so there was lots of stuff going on with people trying to figure out tyres and making choices about tyres, and it's a good race, really good race.
Yeah, for sure. Good point, Mitch. That's nuts. Yeah, no, definitely unfortunate, I would say. One thing I'd like to quickly touch on, if we go back up a fair few comments, we'll land on this fella right here. Now, Mr. Corey Tate, absolute legend within the RC industry. We don't see him around enough. That's one big thing. Now, I'm going to quickly bring up the screen again to what Corey has been indulging himself into a lot in the past.
Good. This is cool.
So he previously did a lot of 3D printed stuff, and I mean a lot of really cool 3D printed stuff. I believe he has navigated a little bit out away from that, and Corey, if you're still watching, by all means jump on in. But I believe he has navigated a little bit away from the 3D printed stuff. I'm pretty sure he put all the files open access to anyone that had their own 3D printer. If I'm wrong, once again, Corey, let me know. But one thing that he's just started doing, which I've been using myself pretty much leading into the ABC and just trialing, just checking things out, is this right here. If I can find it.
You can do it. There we go. I'll just sing for a minute while you find. Oh, there we go. Here it comes. It's coming. It's coming. Here it is.
My RC coach. This is by, once again, Corey Tate. Once you're in the app and stuff, it's got a heap of information as to, your own vehicles. And it's one thing that I always struggle with because I'm shocking with management when it comes to
keeping
parts in line and stuff.
No, say don't say.
And what you can literally keep track of all the parts. We really should have Corey on here to explain a lot better than what I will ever be able to. But it's awesome. Corey's done a wicked job on it. If you haven't checked it out already, I know I put up a post, I think a week or so ago, but if you haven't checked it out already, give it a go. Like it will make things so much easier for the everyday racer, for a driver that's been driving for years. It will make things a lot easier. It's going to make things easier for me because I am hopeless at management. So
myrccoach.com. Yeah, absolutely. Had Corey gave us a kind of a bit of a preview of it a month or two back, and the development stages, and looked really cool. I kind of got in, built my library, built my fleet. You can kind of do all that sort of work, track what changes you're doing in a practice session, all that kind of stuff. You can it's all there. Creativity, nice, Corey, nice, really good.
Cookie's jumping on it. I think we double clicked on it. And yeah, Cookie, yes, you did beat me. I saw that comment. I'm glad Scotty didn't share it. It's a one-off. It'll never happen again, Cook. I'm sorry to tell you.
I think it might, Mitch.
You're still a youngster, but you've maxed out. You're not going any quicker, mate.
2 years ago at the first Asian Buggy Champs race at Pine Hills, I think I managed to inflict a defeat on a then 9-year-old Phoenix Eggleton, which was very cruel of me. And I said to him on the driver's stand on that day,
one of these, hey, you did one of these.
That will never happen again. I will never beat you again. I understand exactly what's happening here as one of us goes up and one of us goes down. I reckon that could be you and Jared Cook, mate. I'm not sure you will beat him again. He's a good young kid. He's on the rise, going fast.
He walked up to me, I think, before the very first B main and said, "I'm going to beat you, Mitch." And, I thought, yeah, you could. But after the first race, I had a great run. I end up third. I thought, Cookie's got no chance now. Not a chance in the world. And he ends up coming in third, I think, in the last one and beating me on time. So
no, it's good.
Chuck in the bin.
It just reminds me to say, I think you can really notice it everywhere from local racing right through into the international scene that the next gen are not coming. They're here. Like, the 15 to 18-year-olds are just so fast now. And, even someone like Michael Orlovsky, Dakota Fend, who are not that old. Davide Ongaro is like 25 or whatever he is. I think there were only 4 people in Manila in the final that were older than him. Everyone else was younger than him. So there's so many fast kind of teenagers in that middle to late teen years. There's been a real change in the last 12 months. The kids are not coming; they are here. That's why I've hung up the transmitter, mate. That's why I just drive the microphone now. The microphone and the keyboard. Stay off the track. Yeah.
Okay. We will proceed onwards.
We will.
Okay. And we're going to quickly touch on this one as well. I know we briefly mentioned it earlier. We're going to talk a little bit more about it now. Currently being held over at Chargers RC. The Vintage Muster started off officially today with their first proper practice day.
Yep.
As I said, dropped in there during Smoko. Dom, don't hit me up.
How many times do you need to say
Smoko? Oh, you never know. He might have forgotten since then and now. He's getting old, all right?
It was very cool. I dropped in for a while today as well and had a few practice runs. And, you got some interstate guys there, the people, the likes of Lou Solar and Andy Cook and some of those guys. There's a crew, a couple from Sydney, the most incredible cars, OG and then re-released kind of more recent kind of cars. And it's, 215 entries across the 2 days of the weekend, across multiple classes across the weekend. So it's a cool little track. It's Charger's second track. For those who've not been there or seen it, it's a new track that was just opened a couple of months ago. It is named the David Heavy D Guyatt Dirt Track after David Guyatt, who has been a lifelong member is a life member of the club and has contributed a huge amount. So the club surprised him with the honour of naming the track after him. But it's a purpose-built dirt track, slippery, old school dirt. Purpose-built for vintage cars. No big jumps, nothing really to hit, not much that's going to break cars. So it's super fun. They've just tidied the track up a little bit this week and extended a couple of corners, which have just bumped the lap times up by a second or so. So fast times in two-wheel, kind of in the low 16 flats, the fastest I heard today, but you will probably see someone like Chris Sturdy well into the 15s over the weekend. And the four-wheel drive's a little bit quicker, though, into the 15s. Trucks. It's a really fun little track, fun little layout, great event, run by one of Australia's great long-term clubs with a rich history. I'm running the Cougar 2 Works, the re-release from Team Shoemaker, in one of the two-wheel drive classes tomorrow. That's most of the two-wheel classes are 21.5 motors, and then there's an open or what we might call two-wheel drive modified class as well. And I've dug out an old 91 RC10 team car with it's got a 13.5 brushless motor in it. It feels to me like more power than that car has ever had in its life. Going back to the days when we were running those cars, the thing's got some go. Definitely overpowered for the size of the track, but I'm not taking it out. I'm not motoring down, Mitch. It's going to be a great weekend. Yeah, 200 plus entries. It's a big weekend. Yeah. You're muted still. There you go.
There we go. We're back. My hotkey didn't work. I swear I pressed it that time, but it decided not to work. But yeah, solely vintage-based event, this one. Later in the year, there will be a different event that combines what we will see vintage and modern. Yep. And we'll hopefully touch on that pretty shortly as well. But yeah, no, it's looking like an awesome weekend, as you mentioned there. Little track, but really looks technical enough to sort of keep you compelled throughout the entire lap and throughout the whole event as well. It looks lots of fun.
It's fun. And there's some elevation, right? So even though there's not big jumps, there is elevation. There's, climb up the hill, and the front straight is all downhill into a really fast left-hander with a big rut that's kind of formed right in the middle of that corner. And it's a fun little racetrack. It'll be a really fun weekend. And it just continues the rise of, some of those big vintage races, not only in Australia, but around the world. Not too long away, about 6 weeks away, I think, the whole vintage crew are down at St Ives, one of the kind of OG clubs that got this vintage thing started for their big annual festival in September. And then, of course, the Vintage Bash version 4, fourth year that's run down at Knox in Victoria, where entries will open soon. They're 350, 400 entries probably likely for that one. Insane amount of, drivers from overseas all around the place. That comes up later in the year. That's the little racetrack. And look at that cloud that was yesterday, that kind of roll cloud that came across southeast Queensland. Incredible sky yesterday. And a very cool little racetrack. Yeah, I like it.
No,
it's good fun.
Looking forward to it. I'll be on the microphone whilst you're thrashing around that car, beating all these old boys.
Sideways opposite lock wheel spin, the way off-road should be. That's no spoken by an old man. That's how it is. It's going to be a good weekend. Yeah.
Looking forward to it as well. Yeah, my first vintage race meeting that I'll be calling. I was there for the carnival at Charters last year. But you took over the microphone for a majority of that, so this time you're getting to have a drive. So.
Do I owe you an apology, Mitch? Did I cramp your style? No, we did some co-calling. We called a few races together.
We did some co-calling. That was awesome. Yeah, that was my first time co-calling.
There you go.
So, okay, now over to our next event on the cards and currently running the EFRAs, European 10-scale off-road championships. So all of Europe, UK. Take it away, Scotty. You have a bit more.
Yeah, I've been keeping a pretty close eye on this one. It's taking place at Hoodie Arena, the home of X-Ray, home of the 2019 Worlds. You went to that Worlds, didn't you, Mitch? That indoor World. So same racetrack, but the surface now has been glue sealed, so it's very different to that sort of slippery clay surface that you would remember. Yes. Two-wheel drive's been run and won. No surprise, I suppose, to see the X-Ray guys be fast, on home soil, if you like, on home turf, and running a Hoodie tyre that they would probably have more time on than most. But you still got to do the business, and they have. And, two-wheel drive going, in the end, the finals going to the top qualifier, which had been Martin Bayer. He'd top qualified and then won leg 2 and 3. He made a little mistake late in leg 1, which let his teammate, David Ronefeld, get around him. Ronefeld had qualified 3rd, I think. I can't remember now. I think Orlovsky was 2nd. So very cool result for Martin Bayer, and I think he's a quality driver. He knows the cars, the track, the tyres, but you would still say that's maybe the best win of his career. He did win a Euro, kind of back in the day. He's not a full-time driver now. He runs the off-road program for X-Ray. He's the car designer, engineer. So for him to, come home ahead of his pro driver, David Ronnefeld's a pretty cool result for him. And you could see how much it meant to him. I was watching the coverage on RC Racing TV, and he did a great job. Behind those two, Team Associated and Shoemaker both just look like they just were kind of trying to find their feet the whole way through two-wheel drive. Hartman got there in the end, had a pretty strong run late in qualifying, but the qualifying results were so all over the place that even with a high result, he ended up starting 6th, and so it just had to really work. I think he had 2 seconds in qualifying, so a 2 and a 2, and started out of P6. That's how mixed up the results were. Only 2 rounds counting, and 4 different people won a round each. One of the other kind of talking points, I think, out of two-wheel drive, Neumann driving for S-Works, new prototype two-wheel drive platform. We're led to understand that he ran along with Misha Vidmeyer. Misha just missed out BQ, and I think they won the B final. But for Neumann to go fastest in round 4 of qualifying, qualified 4th, and kind of ran, in the mix. I think dropped back a few spots. The finals didn't go his way. but pretty impressive for them to put that car in the final. And then I also think for Burak Kilic in the Mugen, it's not a car that gets a lot of time. He's more of an 8-scale driver, so for him to take that 2-wheel drive car and put it in the final, also pretty impressive. So yeah, we had Martin Bayer in 2-wheel drive, David Ronefeld, Una Hartonen, that's the podium. Bartosz Zalewski, the young Pole, another extra driver in 4th. He could just be a dark horse come Worlds time in September. He's a young kid in a hurry. When he came out here for the pre-Worlds, had never really run on dirt before, as I understand, in 10th scale. So he's had that experience. Now he's run really fast at the Euros. You wouldn't put it past him to win the 4-wheel drive section, which is qualifying kicks off in an hour or so. So yeah, I think that's the two. Oh, the other one that made the final, which I also thought was impressive, Figueiredo, another name that is mainly known for 8 scale, runs for Techno in 8 scale, came to these Euros with a borrowed, I think he ran Associated. He'd borrowed that car to run in 2-wheel drive. He'll run the old Techno 4-wheel drive. He'll be running in 4-wheel drive. But for him, someone who doesn't do a lot of 10 scale to come qualify into the final, again, I thought was pretty impressive. He finished 8th overall. This is one of the A finals. Which one are we watching here? So this is the 3rd A final.
Yeah, the final.
So Bayer getting away. Orlovsky's right there, and Ronefalk. And Ronefalk needed to win this. He and Bayer went into this 3rd leg with 1 win apiece. You see him there jump to the inside. I think you could say Orlovsky kind of left the door open for him, knowing that those two, Bayer and Ronefalk, were going to battle it out. The bummer is, and I don't know, it depends how long we stick with this, but a couple of mistakes.
We won't stay with it too long. Yeah,
there it is. There's the first one, and then a couple laps later made another mistake, and so wasn't in the fight, and that let Bayer kind of cruise to the win. So pretty impressive. 4-wheel drive time to practice yesterday, seating practice underway right at the moment, and then qualifying will kick off a little later on this evening, about 8:00. I think it's all live on RC Racing TV. Way to spend your late evening tonight watching qualifying, and then tomorrow night we should get into finals. Probably by around 10:00, I think the first day final should run. Shoemaker and Associated looking much better in 4-wheel, but still the X-Ray guys right there. And at the end of yesterday's timed practice, it was Martin Bayer back on top, the 2-wheel drive champ, and Ronefalk in 2, Orlovsky and Kobovic. Zalewski again, Una Hartonen, it's all the names we have come to expect. That's kind
a
of
couple
where
of
we're
things.
At with that one. Yeah.
As you mentioned there as well, they have glued the actual surface of the track now. It's like a PVA or PVA glue, I think. It's the same as like a builder's glue virtually. So the grip is substantially higher than what we had when we were over there for the Worlds, when we were running on what felt like ice.
Yeah.
So lots of big changes going on there as well.
Yeah.
Interesting to see just before the Euros, they actually took this on and gave it a go.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were pretty confident in the process.
Yeah.
And it probably leveled out the playing field at least a little bit, to say the least. A lot of people, go into an event where it's realistically a home track of X-Ray, and they expect X-Ray to be dominant. And I feel as if that should have at least eased some of that sort of thought process a bit. And it's good to see Martin Bayer come out on top still with the X-Ray after quite a sizable change. I don't doubt that he's probably done some laps there. But
I think he has. I think the track's been closed for the last, I think it's 3 weeks, isn't it? 21 days or something like that. So it's not that he's been there running all day, every day for the last month. But they would have done their homework, of course. I think for Bayer to win, that's a pretty cool story.
It's a great story.
And who's to say he's not going to double up? Who knows what happens tonight and tomorrow night. It does remind me that I think in the last little bit, this year probably, with the signing of Fend, Chase Lemieux, people like that in the US, Ronefalk won the Euro 8 scale champs just a couple of weeks ago. X-Ray are on a tear, and you would if they won one European championship, they could well win another one tomorrow night. The 8 scale electric worlds in a couple of weeks in Portugal. You wouldn't put it past Ronefalk winning there, and then of course the 10 scale worlds, they'll come with some serious talent. So who knows? It's a big year. It's been a big year for X-Ray already. Yeah.
As for that question, Cookie, it's a tough question, I'd say, for both of us to answer. Other than chargers, we don't have a huge amount of experience, at least I don't, when it comes to glued surfaces.
Yeah.
I do know a couple of drivers from over the US. Sean, I believe it is, Sean Harding, if I remember correctly. He's an Alabama driver. He has his own backyard track where they race quite a fair bit over there. Now, they have a glued surface there as well. They use virtually like a ghost pin, but their track is very heavily sealed, and it's going to depend on how much dust, glue, or tire rubber is actually going to come out of the surface or off of your tires, to depend on whether you need that bar to sort of get over the top of that dust, or if it's sealed enough that you don't need to worry about it and there's not massive amount of tire wear creating dust tire, then you can probably just run a full slick. I'm not sure the exact ins and outs of it, but I'd say it's highly dependent on both, or quite a lot of circumstances, whether it be, as I mentioned there, dust, tires, how sealed it is, that's the side of things. For the event at the Euros, I believe they are actually running a new tire for the event. It's actually a hoodie tire. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Scotty.
It is, Mitch. It's a new hoodie tire. Yeah, they're just starting to kind of get into the tire market. So I think this is the first event that's run these as a control tire.
Very similar, to my knowledge, to a whole shot. It's pin style tire. I believe tire wear, they're getting roughly between 2 to 3 runs out of a tire there. It is, once again, I believe, I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but I believe they are using the harder version of the tire to try and make them last a bit longer, but could be wrong on that one as well. So they are probably using a tire that isn't 100% suited to the track, in my opinion, but everyone's on the same tire, so it doesn't really matter too much.
No, that's the beauty of control tires. Oh, no, don't say that word. Don't say control tires.
Scotty, what did you start the other week?
I know.
We'll quickly touch on this.
It was an accident. I was just
especially
reflecting on the Asian Buggy Champs race about some of the things that, you'd notice different things in a race. And I was, kind of reflected on a bunch of them. And one of the things that I did say, which I've often wondered about, is the place of control tires in RC, and particularly in pretty much the only category that doesn't use them at major sanctioned races, which is 8 scale off-road. And so I just kind of said, it's a curiosity to me that 8 scale doesn't do that, when almost every motorsport on the planet does use control tires, but 8 scale RC does not. And it kicked off a bit of a debate, and then I got talked into a little bit of a poll, and we, I wasn't trying to be political. I was just kind of making the observation. We don't do that in 8 scale. And it's a curiosity to me that we don't. Yeah.
There we go. I like donuts.
You've got to have some humor, Mitch. You can't, there you go. You voted too late. You can't be too serious about this all the time. So sometimes you just got to say, control tires are great, but I like donuts. That's how it is. Yeah.
And I think it's worth mentioning as well. I've always sort of felt that 8 scale is just that class where it is an open tire, but I feel like certain events that a controlled tire could just work better. Whether it is the Asian Buggy Championships or not, I don't really know. I know a lot of people sort of mention a couple other points you do have to factor in, say scrutineering a bit more, whereas the Asian Buggy Championships doesn't really have anything in the way of scrutineering, so it adds an extra role. Either the committee or a racer then has to jump out and go, okay, well, that's now my job. I can't race anymore. I now have to do this instead. So it's sort of, it's one of those things that I'm sure it can be tossed around and thought about, but will it ever happen? Probably not. I think, as was mentioned by a fair few people, I would say about 98% of people ended up in the exact same tire anyway. It just virtually meant that a lot of drivers were coming with a whole heap of tires, getting here, realizing the tire wasn't right, and then having to get the correct tire.
Yeah. And but, if, to be fair, if it was up to me, I wouldn't be running control tires at events like that. For me, it's a sanctioned, state, national, world championship kind of discussion. What you do at club and regional and other big events that's a separate conversation for me. But yeah. Chad Donnelly saying it is actually a bar tire that they're using over in the Hoodie Arena this week. I think I've got a photo of it here, but I can't quite work out how to get it on the screen.
So I was completely wrong on that one. Me thinking it was like a whole shot. It is more of a bar.
Share screen. Let me try this and see if this works, Mitch.
Come on, Scotty.
Work? There we go.
Yeah.
Technology. Who said he was an old man who can't use technology? So yeah, I think that's the tire. Chad, chime in if we've got that wrong. Yeah, but I think that's the tire they're using this week. There's been a bit of one of the one of the challenges, I suppose. Two-wheel drive front tire is free, and so there's been a bit of, kind of what's the best front tire. Most people are using the matching two-wheel drive front tire, but others have found the four-wheel drive front tire to be really good, but they were hard to get. There wasn't enough. So some people kind of feeling like they're a bit stuck on not the ideal tire, and that might have impacted some of the results. We're now into four-wheel drive where front and rear axles are both controlled, so that, and maybe that's making a case for controlling the front tire as well in two-wheel drive. Then that whole kind of question goes away. That's again a topic for another day. Last thing for me to say about the Euro Champs is that they're having a bit of fun on the stream tonight through qualifying and having some special guests on. So I think it's Bruno Coelho going on at the end of seeding. So he's going to join the commentary team for a little while at the end of seeding before Q1 starts. And I'm going to jump on, Mitch, and have a chat with Matt and the guys at the end of Q1 for a few minutes. We, of course, are really interested in this race because of what it points to, in 8 weeks' time when we are in Sydney for the World Championship. So obviously keeping an eye on who in Europe's going fast. It's not the same kind of surface as they'll be on in Sydney at the Hills in a couple of months, but it's at least dirt adjacent. Can we call it that? So, seeing who's going fast, seeing, for example, that S-Works new two-wheel drive platform. I understand Burak Kilic is running a Mugen prototype in four-wheel drive, so we'll see that car down under for the Worlds as well. So they're the kinds of things, from a Worlds perspective that we're keeping an eye on in terms of the European Champs. Plus, it's a big race, some quality driving, beautiful track. So, what else would you do late on a Friday night? So come join me, watch qualifying, and then I think if all the tech works, we're going to jump on and have a little chat with Frank and Matt from RC Racing TV at the end of round one of quali later on. If you and I are finished in time, of course.
Yes. I was just about to say, right. Yeah, we have to push on quickly through upcoming events. So we have a couple of events that we've sort of underlined here and just gone, okay, well, these are coming up. A couple of small events, couple of pretty big events. Yeah, I would say. We'll kick it off quickly once again with the Bike Worlds at England Park. Yeah. So that is next weekend. It's going to be covered by RC Race Media. You've got a good looking hat right there, Scotty. You can show it off. They're going to be taking the coverage away. Are you going to be there, Scotty, for that?
I'm going to try and pop in on Friday afternoon if I can, but no, I'm not part of the team. But I'm going to try and get there because I've never seen a real proper bike race. So definitely keen to see that around Brendale. Yeah.
And a couple of things quickly to note on that as well. David Verruccio is sort of the guy to sort of talk more about it, and it'd be actually good to have had him on if we had a little bit more time. I might even see if I can sneak in an extra podcast sometime early next week if we can squeeze it on in. So unfortunately, they didn't get enough numbers for Nitro Bike. However, they do have strong numbers in Stock Bike. 3 past world champions making the trip over from Europe. It's the first time it's ever been outside of Europe.
Okay.
Along with the fact that it's the first time that it's ever run the super motard class. So all those lossy bikes and stuff that we've seen getting thrashed around lately on tracks all over the world, they're actually going to have a run as well. So that's going to be all part of the world titles. Not an IFMA world titles. It's its own category. For the bikes. But yeah, will be really interesting. It's something that'll be different, I think, for a lot of the viewers that have been watching RC Race Media for a long time to see bikes. Just a heads up as well, they don't have gyros in these bikes, except for the Pro Moto side of things, the lossy bikes. They obviously have gyros, but the racing bikes, they do not have any gyros. They are incredibly hard to drive. Took me 5 minutes to get around one corner. Okay, we'll pump on through to the next thing.
took you 5 minutes to get around one corner.
No joke on that one as well.
No.
It literally.
Yeah.
So I had a quick drive down to the Femco event. Oh, we're going off on a tangent here already. Took me 5 minutes just to navigate a sweeper because I could not work out how it worked at all. And oh man, with Scotty, we're gonna have to get you a drive of a bike so you can.
I drove one of the Losi. I did drive one of the Losi bikes in New Zealand at Counties. Actually, one of the guys flicked me the radio. It was very fun. But that's with the gyro assistant.
That's with the gyro.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Sign me out of that one.
Over to the next one. I think both Matt and Tony had a drive. I'm sure if they're still watching on, they can pass on the info on how easy it was to get around the track. Over to the next event. RCRA 8 scale off-road nationals being held down in Bateman Bay, and that is the very following weekend. So that'll be another big event. I'm pretty sure once again RC Race Media will be there.
Yep. That's the plan for Tony and Matt. Tate may be doing some photos. I'm not sure whether Tate will be there doing photos, but definitely Matt and Tony will be there. Yep.
I'm sure Tate is looking forward to seeing me. We have this romance going on, a bit of a bromance between us. He loves me.
He is a quality RC photographer, one of Australia's best. Yep.
Yeah. Just a bit of background information. The track down there is like a semi-oiled track. The oil itself isn't anywhere near what Pine Hills is. It's more of a keeping the surface together style oil, not massively to enhance grip. And at the moment, they're doing quite an extensive track rebuild, and they're doing it by hand as well.
Amazing. Yeah. What a crew.
Just absolute machines down there. So big ups to them. They're quite a small club that's giving realistically one of the biggest event on the Australian calendar a big run.
Yeah, it's good. Stacked field, right? Just it's a world's qualifying year, so everybody's there. I mean, in a sense, the same crew that were in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago, but with the addition of Christian Wallader, Aaron Dexter, for example, and then some of the other fast kind of New South Wales crew that didn't make it up to Pine Hill. So Ari Barkla, those kinds of people. So stacked field, definitely will be an awesome race to watch.
Yeah. No, should be awesome. I'll be down there as well, so I'll be running the commentary for that one, which will be good fun. Looking forward to that.
Look forward to it. Yes, many hours of media and Mitch and media kind of over that weekend. Yeah,
a lot of events coming up.
Bummed not to be there. I think it'll be an amazing race. Yeah. I think
next up on the
just before we go on from that, I think if I understand rightly, almost certainly will be a first time. No, because Alex has won one before, hasn't he, in Nitro? Yeah, so Alex will be the only, because Kyle McBride won't be there. Kyle's won so many of the last 11, 12 years. So I was going to say almost certainly a new winner, but that's not right because Alex has won one before. So could be a second one for him. Could be a first-time winner. How cool would a first-time winner be? That'd be amazing. Yeah.
That would be interesting, to say the least. And it'll be interesting to see how Alex goes in quite a different surfaces to what he's probably been running on for the last 6 months in preparation. Up north again now, back up to Queensland with the Queensland on-road titles at Bundaberg. That's looking like a good event. Fairly decent entries rolling in. I might be there as well with any luck. Fingers crossed on that one.
Driving the microphone or a transmitter, Mitch?
On the microphone. And it should be on the microphone up there. So I'm just organising a few things, but with any luck, fingers crossed, we'll be up there as well.
Good racetrack. Yeah, I like it.
Awesome track. I accidentally drove there when I was going to an 8-scale event at the start of the year. It's a long story, but somehow I accidentally drove 20 minutes past where I was meant to go to and ended up at the wrong racetrack.
Okay. So, I thought you were saying you accidentally drove to Bundaberg, which is not an easy thing to do. It's like 5 hours north of Brisbane. That would be an accident.
That would be a big accident. That'd be a big oopsie. And that wouldn't be something I could pull off at Smoko, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, that'll be a good race. Good race for sure. Which reminds me that this weekend, today practice and over this coming weekend is the New South Wales Electric On-Road Champs down at Moorebank, John Grant International Raceway. if the weather cooperates. There's been all sorts of forecasts. I haven't actually heard whether there's been much practice done today. I think it was clear this morning, but I'm not sure what's happened with the weather through the day. Pretty stacked field there at the New South Wales Champ, so that one's one to keep an eye on. I don't think there's any live streaming, but the results will be streaming through liverc.com. Yeah, that'll be a good one.
And next one up, it will be the Chargers Carnival.
Yeah, it's a complicated race, that one. I haven't got my head around it, but we've got modern cars, classic kind of, what are they called, outlaw cars and vintage cars, all running over the weekend across the 3 days across 2 different racetracks. So there absolutely is a class for everybody in off-road. Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Yeah. Geno's said to me that he'll send me a bit more information when he has it. Well, I'm sure they have it all in the planning stages or pretty much set in stone. But getting closer to the event, they'll send me all the information. But last year it was Vintage Day on Saturday and Modern Day on Sunday. They also had, as we mentioned, the Outlaw class, which is sort of that crossover period between when we went from realistically rear mount cars into mid mount cars and further into mid mount cars to the point where we have full lay down mid mount cars and everything. So here we go.
The details are there's a schedule there. So Friday the 5th open practice, both tracks. Saturday the 6 service, the modern tracks qualifying, and then in the afternoon over on the dirt track. So those 2 tracks side by side if you've not been to that facility in Brisbane. Dirt, vintage and outlaw racing into the evening, and then Sunday we continue on with the main. So that's over at chargersrc.net for all the details, 5th to the 7th of September. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. I believe you'll be on the microphone at least in portions of that as well.
I will be on a catamaran off the coast of Croatia, actually. So no, I will not. I will not be on.
We can set up a wireless. It's all right. I'm sure we can get it further than that.
No, I will not. No, it's my 30th wedding anniversary this next month, so I will be with my lovely wife, not thinking about toy cars at all, having a little trip away. So no, it's all you, mate. You've got this one under control.
Surely if Mr. Beale was tuning into the live stream today at 2 hours before he said you could tune into it, we can talk your wife into postponing a couple of days.
It is a problem because while we're away is the 8 scale e-buggy worlds, and I'm just going to go, and I'll actually be in Europe at the time, and I'm kind of like, just a little side trip down to Portugal for the weekend, honey. No, I didn't say that out loud. That's not happening. No.
All right. That covers us off for upcoming events, other than a couple, or at least one major one. And we'll wait on in because we will have quite a decent driver join us pretty soon. With any luck, he'll be joining real soon after that absolutely incredible entry to him. But
what an introduction.
What an entry. Lachlan Donnelly will be on any second now. Chad, quick, get him on. Where is he? Tell him to hurry up. But we'll discuss a fair bit when it comes to the IFMA worlds that are coming up very quickly. I don't know about you, Scotty, but it's creeping up on me quick.
It's coming fast, and like we're inside 2 months now. I think it's maybe 8 weeks from this weekend, something like that. Is the kind of kick-off, get set sort of weekend, and then we roll into it. And it's been coming for so long, it's hard to believe that it's now this close. 8 weeks, just 8 weeks away. I'm super excited about it. This is my excited face, Mitch. Yeah.
Speak of the devil, let's see another excited face. Bing!
Hey, fellas.
There he is.
How you going?
How's it going, Lockie?
Good.
Lockie, are you sick of winning RC car races in 2025? Have you won enough? Leave some for the rest of us.
Not yet.
It's been a good year.
Yeah, it has.
Go, Mitch. It's all yours.
All right. So Yeah, well, I mean, we got a big event coming up here in Australia, home track, and well, that's the side of things. So, IFMAR 10 scale world titles. Now, you've been to a couple of world titles around the world now. You've been lucky enough, as well as myself, to travel to Europe and have a run over there. You weren't at, oh no, you were at the America. Jeez, you had a great run at America
Yeah.
as well. Where did you end up finishing in America?
In hobby action, I was in the C main in 2-wheel drive and in the D in 4-wheel drive.
Yeah,
I can't remember the exact positions I felt, but
get some top 20 quali
Yeah.
runs, didn't you?
yeah, especially in 2-wheel drive, I had quite a few good qualies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how
But
much
just missed
experience
out on
did
the
you
B
have on?
main.
How much experience did you have on indoor clay before you went there? Not a whole lot, right?
0.
Amazing. Yeah.
We did a couple
Unreal.
of days at SDRC. We went there early with a lot of the rest of the Aussie crew. Turned out to be, even though that was indoor clay, quite different to what hobby action was like. But it was still some sort of experience. But yeah, that was a first time for all of us Aussies.
Spectacular. That's good.
Yeah, I had a great run. I still remember watching you having a great run. I think I think it might have been the final qualifying round where the order is inverted. I think the top drivers were up first, and then it went down the order a bit, and you were sitting like right up the order for a long time.
Yeah.
But it was pretty.
I wish I made
awesome.
more of that round, because I mean, there was guys in my heats that got top 5 for the round, and had a mistake in that Q5. Could have been a big change in what main I was in, but yeah, it happens.
It does.
A great run. So now to upcoming worlds. Now we have a fair bit. We'll have to shorten it down a little bit, not keep you until 10:30, as I'm sure we probably would if we were let loose out here.
I only have 17 questions, Mitch. Just 17. Is that all right? No.
16 at most. All right. Okay. Preparations for the worlds. Like, what have you been doing in the way to prepare for the worlds itself at the moment?
I mean, being at the track as much as possible. We've got the new B84 platform that we've had for the last, I think, 5 weeks now. We've still got parts that are trickling in that we're kind of just testing each week. Basically just putting as much track time as possible, just testing every single setting. The track is different week to week, day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. So just kind of getting that data for each sort of track condition has been, really important. It's going to be something that's useful to hit the ground running at the Worlds.
Yeah, fair enough. And have you got any other events you're looking to attend before the actual world titles?
We'll do the Canberra States, which is at the end of August, because Hills is closing on the 20th for all their rebuild, so we can't do any more running there. But in the meantime, I think we'll do the Canberra States, and then other than that, it's just going to be either maybe a trip up to Maitland or something just to get some wheel time, just so don't get rusty for that month of 0 track time. So just go somewhere, turn some laps. That's all, really.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I think a lot of people don't really take that into account. When you say the track is closing, the reason behind the track closing is it's an IFMAR requirement, as well as the fact, obviously, they're doing a rebuild, but it's also an IFMAR requirement. The track is closed for a certain period of time as well. So it's interesting for an outside perspective that doesn't really know the insides and outs of an IFMAR World Titles. Now,
can I just ask, Mitch? Can I butt in for a second? Lockie, you know that racetrack at the Hills better than just about anybody else. The layout that's in now has been in since the Nationals last year, so the dirt's very well settled. It's kind of what's the track likely to be like in when it's fresh, when it's freshly rebuilt, all new layout. How do you anticipate the dirt settling and the track being over the presumably the club will try and run some cars that for people who aren't running in the Worlds, but how do you think the track will react over the Worlds when it's fresh?
I wish I had 100% answer, but I don't know. Depends on
nobody else is watching. You can tell Mitch and I. It's fine. It's fine.
It could be that the most grip we've seen at Hills, or it could be the lowest. I think it'll be obviously very smooth. It'll be rolled. It'll be dead smooth. I'm sure they'll put plenty of molasses into the surface. So I think, like, obviously the first couple of practice runs are going to be loose, but I think it's going to be relatively high grip for us.
Yeah. I think, it just occurs to me that so often when you go to a World Championships, there's an expectation that the local drivers will have that advantage. I wasn't at Hobby Action, but I'm sure we heard the story that, the track did not behave in the way that the local drivers were used to it behaving over there. So, part of me is curious about, how much this local track knowledge will play out, or whether the track will do something different because it's a World Championship and the conditions are different and everything's different. One to watch closely, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I feel as if when it comes to Hobby Action's Worlds in comparison to their standard grip level and to what we had at the start of the Worlds at least, and how it progressed in comparison to what we will likely have at Hills normally at currently and to after the track rebuild, I think the grip level will be a lot closer than what we saw at the Worlds over in Arizona. And the first heat up in qualifying for four-wheel drive, we're doing donuts down the back straight away because there was literally no grip out there. And I think at least half the field was running back to their tables trying to change setups in preparation for their heat. But I would be highly doubtful that will be a similar situation come our world titles. I think the tire is a lot more suited to the conditions. You probably have done quite a lot of laps and a lot of testing with the tires. How do you find the tires of the track?
The tires are perfectly okay for hills. It's very temperature dependent. If it's too hot or too cold, they kind of fall out of their window. But I think with the Worlds being in October, it's about the right temp for the compound that they are. So yeah, there's no problem with the tire for the Worlds. Yeah.
And what sort of run times when it comes to heats? How many heats are you getting out of a set of tires roughly?
Well, again, you can go there on some days and your set of tires could do 2 club meets or 3 club meets because if it's damp. But as soon as it starts to dry out, it becomes triple the abrasiveness, and you're doing 2 runs on a set. So it depends on a lot of factors: the UV, the temperature, the moisture. It's all comes into play with how long the tires are going to last. I think the majority of the racing will be done when the track is dry. So you'll be doing only 2-3 runs on a set of tires for the Worlds, I think.
Another tire related question as well. Talking about dry track, as you mentioned there, what is the drop off rate once you sort of gone through those 2 races or 2 runs, 2 qualifiers? Once the tires are sort of pretty well worn, how do you find the actual tire drops off once they're getting closer and closer to a slick, say?
It's not significant as long as the track has been blown off, and which we will have at the Worlds. There's going to be blowers on each corner being blown off after each run. You can get away with a half slick, and for the top guys, you're going to be only going to be doing 2 or 3 runs, but for the majority of people, you're not going to notice much of a performance drop off. Even after 4-5 runs, you can easily get away with it.
Talking about average guys, I was one of those people at the Nationals, obviously. And I not just didn't notice, I actually found it to be going quicker. I found it more consistent for myself, at least, once the tire was bald as it. The balder, the better was for me. But as you mentioned there, it is probably very dependent on the fact that the blower's going around every single time. So that definitely helped out a lot. And that'll be continued through the Worlds as well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Any question from you, Scotty? And I'll jump in with the next one.
Oh, he's on mute.
Yeah. Rookie error. Honestly, why would anyway? I'm sitting here listening to you, Lockie, and I'm really thinking about you've kind of rattled off a whole different range of factors that affect track conditions, temperature, time of day, how much moisture, UV, all of that, and and that's at a race where the track will evolve across the week, but also every day, and we kind of reset, the track goes back to that morning condition every morning. To have all of that knowledge kind of banked away that must be the thing that gives you the most confidence. You just know the conditions, and we've seen some of the international visitors who we'll talk about in a minute, who've come down here for different races, and they just don't have that knowledge bank when they arrive. But you not just you, those who race there regularly have kind of got that information put away. Is that how it feels to you?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, these guys that have come and visited, they've only seen the track conditions in a 2, 3, 4 day period, whereas all us locals have seen how the track is throughout the entire year, because it's never the same throughout each time you go there, right? So just having that knowledge and confidence that you can look at the track, look at how much sun it's got, and how it's going to feel when you put your car on the track is going to be something that's super useful for us locals, and really just Aussies in general. I think even if you're a guy not from New South Wales, you're still going to have a big deal of advantage over the rest of the world with all our dirt tracks that we have.
So it begs the question, mate, you're part of the Team Associated setup. Team Associated have such an extraordinary history in World Championship racing, and it's no secret they do it better than anybody else. And part of that is the way they work as a team at an event, at a World Championship event, how much effort goes into it. How much of that information are you prepared to share with your own teammates? Or how are there some little things that I'm not even going to ask the question. That's not fair. We see this in Formula 1 all the time. How much do you keep to yourself, and how much of an open book is Lachlan Donnelly within the team?
They know everything that we're running. I'd like to be transparent with what I'm doing. If I don't want to, perform better than someone else because I had the better car, I want to be able to know that I'm driving well. Not everything that I am doing anyway will not necessarily translate to another driver. They might not like what I like. But I give them information. We can figure out what to do with setup. That's just how we make progress, right? Like if I am not sharing anything, like I can't expect them to help me or come with new parts or whatever we may need. So I think trying to be as transparent as possible is what's gonna help.
How does it feel going into a World Championship, on the inside of the winningest World Championships team, to go and be a part of that team on home turf with, the whole crew coming here and you're right in the middle of it?
It's pretty cool. I mean, to be working with guys that I was, almost idolized when I was younger, being able to work with guys like Spencer, and then obviously the other young guys like, of course, Ngaro as well. And then Aiden and the rest of the US team. Being able to work with guys that a couple of years ago I would have said you're crazy, right? That I'd be working with them, and now it's it's a pretty cool thing.
Another thing when it comes to teammates, and I'd say probably your closest teammate on a day-to-day basis, I'd say would have to be your father, wouldn't it? Obviously. What is the bond that you have between you two? Who is chief mechanic? Is he chief mechanic? Do you just tell him what you want out of the car and he does it, or where does that come into play?
I mean, a year or 2 years ago, he was 100% responsible for everything to do with the car. He would just put the car down on the track and I would just go drive, right? But I think in the last 2 years, I've been learning as much as I can to do a setup. Obviously, it's kind of a 50-50 split now. Obviously, he does a lot of work on the tools, but, we both have our input into what we should do with setup. And I think it's a pretty good dynamic now, especially with how much I've learned over the last year or so.
Do you find that he gets a different point of view or a different angle of the car whilst it's driving around? He can tell you, say, if the car's understeering or in different sections of the track, you might not pick up as much whilst driving?
I mean, I think there's things that I can pick up and feel that he can't necessarily see on track. Yep. And then there's some things that I can't feel that he can see on track. And I think pushing those both together kind of, helps us get the best out of our out of our cars.
Yeah, and a good question here from Nathaniel White as well. So, not only have there been any noticeable mental or mindset changes over the past couple of years to support your consistency and speed, or is it just a case of practice?
I mean, practice has been the key, right? It always is the key. But I think the biggest thing going into races is this confidence, right? Knowing that you have the ability on the day to win. If you're going into a race thinking, I can't win this, I have no chance, then you're going to have no chance, right? It's just kind of it's a lot of it's up here, and just basically convincing yourself that you can do it is super, super important. And obviously I've been putting in as much time as I can with practicing, just going to races, and you just make progress over time. You know, it's not a thing that just happens and you just sleep and wake up and you're a second lap faster. It takes time, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I think we've made a lot of progress in the headspace as well over the last year.
So can you just talk a little bit about what the nationals meant for you last year, you know, to go head to head with Spencer, and, you know, he got one, obviously you got the other one. So what did that experience, that encounter, that going head to head with, you know, we all know who Spencer Rivkin is. What did that do for you?
I mean, going into the event, I was just thinking kind of, you know, if I can just be close to him, that'll be good. That'll be good for me, right?
Yeah.
And obviously he won two-wheel drive, and then we got the four-wheel drive day, and I had like TQ, and I thought, okay, this is possible. I can beat this guy, right?
Yeah.
And I think I realized in that moment that when you have the confidence is everything, right? If on the two-wheel drive day I didn't think I could beat him, and well, I didn't. And then get to four-wheel drive day, and I thought maybe I have a shot at this, and it basically turned out that way, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of shown me something that all of us Aussies can race these big guys. I know we may have this big advantage at home and so forth, but you know, all of us, not just myself, but there's a bunch of other Aussies that have this ability, and I think we can really show the rest of the world what we can do, right?
It's going to be so fantastic. I can't wait. It's going to be so fantastic. So, I mean, you go from there. That's nationals. That's a year ago, or last, October. It'll be a year when the Worlds rolls around. Then some of those, some of the very best in the world rock up here in April this year for the pre-Worlds, and you do it all over again. But this time you don't split the wins. You take both of the classes, and with two amazing, I actually found, really impressive A3 drives under immense pressure, and that of the whole weekend, as an outsider, as an observer, that was the thing that, it just looked like you had learned your lessons over the weekend. And in those two A3 drives, was where you just put it all into practice. Just talk to us a little bit about, that pre-Worlds event and what that experience was like.
I mean, it was an amazing experience. To be able to win both classes was, again, something that I probably didn't expect to happen coming into the weekend. And then as the weekend progressed, I realized that, that we really did have a shot at winning both. And, making mistakes in A1 and A2 of both, in both classes, all down on the line in A3. And then I, as you said, I learned from my mistakes.
Yeah.
And I got used to racing these guys. At first you might feel a bit nervous that you're racing against Mikael and Spencer and all these guys. And then I kind of just, over time, you just settle into it and you think, okay, this is kind of getting a bit more normal. And yeah, both those A3 drives I was super happy with. I've never experienced pressure like that before in my life in RC, and to be able to get it done in both those classes was amazing.
Do you enjoy driving in front of a big crowd? Because that's the other thing at these events, right? Like, at a normal clubby, who's watching, like, two fathers and a dog, like but when you get to these big races and there's 100 people in the grandstand and the oohs and the ahs and the cheering, and Are you conscious of that at those races, or do you just able to kind of tune that out? And
I mean, I like it, but I don't really pay any attention to it. It's just like no one's even there, right? It's just whether you win with no one there or everyone there, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you kind of just tune all that out anyway. It's something you just have to do. Don't pay attention to the commentary. Don't pay attention to the crowd. Just go out and drive your RC car.
Just ignore Mitch and Scotty Ernst going nuts on the microphone. Yeah. Easy to do. Easy to do. Back to you, Mitch.
Yeah, no, as Scotty said there, the drives, and especially A3 drive, under incredible pressure. Where do you sort of, I guess, focus when it comes to one of the fastest drivers in the world being hot on your rear end? Where does your full focus go into? Is it just solely your car? Do you put a little bit of focus into the car behind you, make sure that they're not looking for inside passes, or are you just solely focused on making sure that every one of your racing line is just pinpoint accurate?
You can't get too hung up on what the person behind you is doing, because that's kind of how you fall into getting out of your rhythm or into a mistake, right? You kind of just have to get into the flow. It's kind of a hard thing to describe. You're not thinking about what you're doing. You just do it. And it's just something that takes time and practice. And, in those A3 mains, like there was not a single thought in my brain. It was just all on autopilot, just driving around. And I think that's how you go fast. You don't have the time to think about the input that you're making. You can sometimes think about the race situation, how much of a lead or not that you have, but you can't be thinking about how you're supposed to drive. You just have to be in the flow state. And that's something super important. As soon as you get out of it, that's when you start making mistakes.
No, that's an awesome answer as well. And I think it's something that I think a lot of people put a lot of focus into the driver behind them. You can see them slow up by a sizable margin. And then, as you mentioned there, they start making mistakes.
I'm just tucking all this away, Mitch, for the vintage race tomorrow at Chargers. I'm going to channel my inner Lachlan Donnelly tomorrow. Watch out. Watch out, John Perkins.
I'm an absolute professional doing the exact opposite of what you're saying. So, no, that's awesome information. I'm sure a lot of people will sort of take that on board as well. Or hopefully they take that on board from realistically a world-class driver such as yourself. Yeah. With that in mind, who are you looking forward to meeting the most out of the drivers coming over, if you haven't already met certain drivers?
I mean, I've met them all before at previous worlds, but to be able to, be on the driver's stand with some of those guys is going to be awesome. I look up to Ungaro, like he's obviously won 4 world titles already at, what is he, 24, 25. Yeah. I think he's the best there currently is. So to be able to, be on the driver's stand at the same time as a guy like him is going to be a pretty cool experience. Yeah.
I actually didn't realize he was that young.
Yeah. He's about, I think he's 24 or 25. That's right. That's what he said in Manila. Yeah. When we were there.
So I'm 3 years older than him and 4 world titles behind him at this stage. So
no, what you do, Mitch, is you say, between Ongaro and I, we have 4 world championship wins. That's how you say that. Exactly how you do it. Every time I'm with Darren Perry, between Darren Perry and I, we have 57 Queensland championships. And, I don't contribute a lot, but hey, that's how it is. Yeah.
Okay,
it's a stacked field, isn't it? Like, so you just spoke about Ongaro, with the other guys who were here, obviously, who've been at the warm-up, and the King of the Hills races a few weeks back. And then there's others who we've not seen down under yet. The likes of, say, Brock Champlin, for example, from the US, or Una Hutton hasn't made it down. It'd be really interesting to see how those guys kind of adapt. Obviously, they'll have the team information. Burak Kilic is another one who hasn't been down here yet. So there's a stack of high quality drivers who'll rock up at the Worlds, having not yet been on track. Yeah,
for sure.
Adding on to changes and stuff with your vehicles, I know we've touched on it a fair bit before. Was there one certain thing that you found with your, say, tool drive, for instance, that you think that made the biggest advantage or change to the vehicle that you preferred?
There's secrets I can't release, Mitch.
That's fair enough. That's completely fair as well, mate.
Nobody watches this, Lockie. It's fine. You can just tell it.
I mean, we put a lot of work into our tool drive platform, especially. We got the car at the start of last year, and we've gone through everything, and we kind of arrived at a happy place now with the tool drive. I'm kind of just putting on the track and with one or two minor changes throughout the day, and it's good throughout all conditions from the low grip to the medium grip. So I'm super happy with how the tool drive development's gone, and then hopefully we get a bit more track time with the four-wheel drive before the track closes. But I mean, we're already at a pretty good place with that as well, being able to win the King of the Hills event with that as well, with only a week or two prior testing with that as well. So I'm pretty happy with both cars, to be honest.
Are you getting a bit of information from, say, Brent Tilke or anything like that for asking for setup changes that they wanted to trial for you to test at the track? Or is it sort of a lot of just your trialing your own sort of setup and going with that flow?
There's a bit of both. We had Billy Hayden, the AE engineer at the King of the Hills event. And, he brought some stuff with him for us to try. We stayed for 3 days after the King of the Hills event on the Monday and Tuesday. And we just kind of ran through some of the things that they wanted to get tested, provide feedback on that. And then I also did some of my own direction as well. So kind of just collect as much info as possible between us, test different directions, and, put it all together and come up with a good starting point for the Worlds.
Without asking the details, were there changes that they wanted to test that were a surprise to you, that were really left field, that that you're kind of going, oh, I never would have thought to try that? Was there anything like that?
Nothing super surprising, to be honest. It's kind of just standard things, just stuff that maybe we didn't get time to try, or just other small things. Nothing, no reinventing the wheel. Just the small things, the small details. We didn't want to go completely nuts with a completely different direction so short from the Worlds. We've kind of landed on a really good place, so we're not really concerned about doing anything crazy.
Now, before we move on to the next point, and we're going to go into the results from the pre-World, we'll touch on a couple of things. But serious question here, is that your gaming headset that you play Call of Duty, all that sort of stuff?
It is, Mitch.
Yeah, I thought it would be. Okay. We'll move on to the serious stuff now. One question leading into the results
hard-hitting
as
journalism.
well. Yeah. Were you surprised at the lack of international drivers in the tool drive portion, or was that sort of something that, when it came to the main final, obviously, did you somewhat expect that they might struggle transferring their skills over into our off-road style of racing?
I mean, I think out of the tool drive and full drive, tool drive is always going to be the class that they were going to have a harder time on. Setup is way more critical in a tool drive track on conditions that we have super low grip. If you're a few minor things off, you're gonna struggle. So in a four-wheel drive, you can kind of drive around some minor setup issues, but in two-wheel drive, you really need to have the car set up right to be on the money. Obviously, a lot of those guys stayed after the warm-up and did a lot of testing, and we saw them make progress as you would have expected. And they're all going to be competitive from the get-go at the Worlds. They're not going to be struggling as they were with the practice one at the warm-up. They're going to be a lot faster when they hit the track. So
you stuck around those days after the race a bit yourself. What was that like to be there with the team? I found it really fascinating to come back on Monday and it was all business. The kind of joking, friendly, laughing in the pits. They're interacting with, say, media, for example. There was none of that. It was just focused business, doing work, working through the program.
Not eating Vegemite.
That too. I mean, yeah, I think the testing afterwards is what basically all those guys were more here for, and not so much
for
the
sure.
race itself.
Yeah.
And the track conditions were more consistent, I think, in the days the days following, kind of more like we're going to get during the race days at Worlds. I think that was more relevant for them as well. And obviously all the teams, Schumacher, AE, X-Ray, will had the time to test what they wanted to test that they might not have been able to during the race itself. But we watched what other teams were doing and how they were going out on track, and then obviously had our own things to try as well. And I think those couple of days with the team went pretty well.
Yeah, I found it really fascinating that you named the big three teams there, but all three of those teams sent engineering people, not just drivers. So, Pre-Worlds Associated had Kurt Wenger down there, who's had some involvement, and then Billy, you obviously spoke about Billy coming, Martin Bayer there for X-Ray, Tris Neal for Shoemaker. That the investment from those three big teams is not just about the drivers getting track time, is it? It's about the engineers, coming to understand what the conditions are like and, what they can do with the platforms. I thought that was a big investment by those three teams to send those guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Was there a driver, say, at least for the tour drive portion, that surprised you the most to see them as quick as they were, to learn the track characteristics as quick as they did?
I wasn't really particularly surprised because I knew they all had, they're all world-class drivers, right? No matter what, they're gonna pick it up pretty fast. Obviously Spencer had been here before the Nationals, but then seeing the Euro guys like Mikael and Marcus pick it up pretty quickly. And then like you got Kobovic as well and Kuki, first timers, and like I remember Kobovic first time on track, I think with his 4-wheel drive, he was already he was already fast. So
it was insane.
I wasn't particularly surprised to see any of them up there.
Yeah, fair.
And that we have our tour drive portion of the event on screen there as well. Obviously, yourself taking the win, a hard fought and well-deserved win there over Spencer Rivkin, Michael Olowski rounding out the podium. Ari Barker, another fellow Australian driver, not too far away, just missing out on the podium there. How often do you get to race against Ari at Hills?
Almost every weekend. It's the New South Wales crew, myself, Ari, Jared, and Matty Cooper. You can see all four of us in that A-main. We race each other every single weekend, and I think that's probably why we're all advancing and getting faster and faster, because we're all trying to beat each other, right? So that's also been really good.
I think Ari was crook a fair bit of that weekend. I don't think it was. I don't think he was in real good shape on, especially the Sunday. Yeah.
And how did you feel going through the event? Did you feel like your car was progressing? Did you feel like your driving was progressing throughout the weekend as well? Or were you pretty comfortable from the get-go throughout the weekend with where you were at and just stayed consistent and doing what you were doing?
I mean, both cars, we didn't really do anything major. We kind of, on the practice day started with our usual setups, and it was just kind of minor adjustments with the car depending on grip levels. We kind of struggled a little bit in four-wheel drive, especially in seating, and we made some changes, and we were pretty strong during qualifying, and then we were still able to have strong pace in the mains as well. But yeah, I was confident with how my driving was going throughout the whole weekend. Obviously had some those little errors in the earlier mains, but I learned from that. And yeah, I was pretty happy with all around with how everything went.
No, good. Over to the four-wheel drive section, unless there's anything else you want to talk about for two-wheel drive, Scotty?
No, we're good.
All right.
I'm looking at the time, Mitch. I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, no, we're doing okay. It's pretty rare, but I'd say we're doing pretty good. Over to the four-wheel drive segment, and we finally sort of start to see our international drivers really start moving up the order in this section, and realistically bumping a couple of Australians down the order a bit, and almost a full heat of international drivers other than obviously yourself and Ari Barkler. So, yep, obviously itself taking the win in four-wheel drive as well. Another incredible drive. Once again, A3 under a ton of pressure from Rivkin. Chase Lemieux having a great drive in four-wheel drive and definitely looked a lot more comfortable in four-wheel drive, I would say, than what he did in two-wheel drive. He's been a couple of times now as well. He was down there for the King of the Hills, was he not?
Except for Nationals.
Nationals.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So, yeah, Nationals and pre-Worlds. So what other drivers were down there for King of the Hills? I know Ronnefolk was there.
Ronnefolk and Dakota were the two internationals along with Billy. Chase was meant to come, but he, for whatever reason, didn't end up coming.
Okay.
So it was Dakota and Ronnefolk.
Right.
For me, the interesting thing, Mitch, in this four-wheel drive race at the World's Warm-Up, of course, being Rivkin and Aidan Horn, wasn't it, running what we now know as the new associated platform that's now been released. And, of course, we also know Kobovic and Orlovsky running the development Shoemaker platform, which is yet to surface, really. They're running it, continuing to run that. So makes me wonder, Lockie, how, what was the opportunity like there to back-to-back, I guess, your very well-sorted forward drive with that new platform? Maybe not so much on race day, but in the days after that, did you get a chance to drive that new prototype at the time, and what was it like to back-to-back?
And I think it was a good idea, to be honest, to have me run the 74 to get a good, because that we had that car working really, really well at Hills, and for them to run the new car, and I mean for them to do as well as they could with no prior experience with that car on that kind of surface was pretty good to see. I did some running with it on the testing days, and I gave them my thoughts and what we think we could change or what we could do better, or things different to how my 74 was doing. And I think that was super useful to be able to back that with a car that's proven and has been working well, and to really get the new platform up to speed.
How cool to get the opportunity to be involved in that process of development. That's not something that most of us get the opportunity to do.
It was pretty cool.
I've got to ask you questions that get you saying more than two words. That's what I've got to learn to do. Okay, that's right. Yeah. Amazing.
So on a scale from 1 to 10, how much are you looking forward to the world titles? That's a single word answer.
Single word answer question.
That's changing it away from 2
11.
words. 11.
11.
Good. Scotty, I don't have a huge amount more input into this. Do you have any more questions for you?
The only other thing I guess I'm interested, Mitch, Lockie, you talked a little bit about some of the races that you'll do between now and the Worlds in terms of staying sharp on the track. I guess I'm interested in what's the mental preparation, or, how do you make sure that you come into that race really well rested and not, just burned out from so much track time? And, what's the self-care look like for you and others? Jared, really well. How do you make sure you're fresh and ready? Because it's going to be a long week.
I mean, we were looking at the other events that are prior to the Worlds, and, we had considered doing something like the 8 scale nationals.
Yeah.
But we kind of decided against that to kind of just stay in the 10 scale mentality and, not go into a completely different category away from what I'm been used to running. So I kind of just stick to the, not sure Chad will survive, stick to what I've been doing, just kind of keep the confidence up, just turn laps. Cars are working well. I've been driving well, just kind of stay sharp. We'll take the rest the week or two before Worlds just to rebuild cars, kind of just have a little downtime and rest. But before then, we'll just try and keep the reflexes sharp, I guess, going to wherever we can, whether that be Mainland or even, I don't know, a trip down to Wodonga, even because that's a natural dirt.
Yeah.
That could be somewhat useful to drive at. So kind of just staying in that groove, in that rhythm, really.
Do you think you come to the Worlds with 2 fresh new cars, or do you in some sense just freshen up what you know so well and is working so well?
We'll break some stuff in. Like they won't be, no, it won't be like brand new cars untouched for practice run. They'll have some running on them. Just if there's any teething issues or anything, you kind of don't want to be sorting that out during your practice runs. You kind of want to get that all out of the way, break in the drivetrains, whatever you got to do. But I mean, the cars there'll be new kits, but they'll just be run before a few times before they go on track.
Mitch, I said earlier I had 17 questions. I'm trying not to go there, but I do have one more that I'm curious, Lockie, we've mainly talked about chassis on the chassis side. Strikes me that, having a car and a performance like you did at the pre-worlds and like you'll hope to do at the worlds on this kind of surface, the power platform, the electronics, the motor and speed control setup, that's a really big deal getting that all right. If I'm remembering things right, you're with Hobby Wing. That's give me a nod or a head shake. No, a nod. And so coming, what's that look like in terms of dialing into the track and coming with Hobby Wing factory support for the World Championships? How much is that part of the picture for you?
I mean, I think ESC settings are again something super important for a low grip track like hills. If that's off, you're not going to have the right feeling, and you're going to either break into wheel. Well, the big thing is breaking into wheel spin. You want to limit that as much as possible. So there's ESC setup is almost just as important as car setup for a track like hills. And we'll have Sultan and the tech support guys here at the Worlds just chewing through data to try and find the most efficient ESC setup to minimize that wheel spin, because that's the key thing. I mean, I think I've done a lot. That's what I've done a lot of learning in the last 6, 7, 8 months.
Yep.
Just all the settings, getting really familiar with what they would do, and then Hobby Wing have come out with some really neat features as well recently, which have been really useful for hills. So the whole power platform is just as important as anything.
It's incredible to see Hobby Wing and other electronics manufacturers taking this just as seriously as on the chassis side, and sending teams and engineers and so on for the event, for the pre-worlds, all of that. Yeah, that's definitely a thing for us on the outside. We might not know what's actually going on inside those boxes, but to keep an eye on how that part of the week unfolds, something to watch. I'll save the rest of my questions, Mitch, for another time. I could dig in here for quite a bit, so maybe we'll leave that. Oh, here we go. Josh Payne needs to know what wines. 11 triple. I think 11 triple, Josh, would be. I don't know.
I'll go out and say a good motor for hills is an 8.5 and a 6.5.
Okay, 8.5 in 4-wheel, 6.5 in 2-wheel, right?
Yeah.
You
can't go wrong with that. There's going to be people that try potentially lower turns or higher turns depending on what your personal preference, but an 8.5 and a 6.5 and you can still win. So you
can go from there.
Yeah.
You can still win, you just said. So that's my last question for you. Like, how do you set your goals for this World Championship event? You've beaten some of these guys now. You've raced with some of the best in the world. We're 2 months out. Where's your head in terms of, this is what a successful weekend looks like, a week at the Worlds?
I think I've kind of now just learned not to attach a number to a result. I kind of just want to go out and drive to the best of my ability, and whether that be the main or any higher up or whatever that turns out to be. I just want to be able to go there and do my best and not attach anything ahead of time.
Yeah. Fantastic. Perfect answer. I've tucked that away for tomorrow. No wheel spin, not too high expectations. I'm going to take that to my vintage race tomorrow.
Set up your ESC settings.
Oh, yeah, no. It's too much.
50 degrees of boost.
All right, final question. Round us out, Lockie. What is going to be the best part about the Worlds?
Hopefully seeing all us Aussies do good.
Yeah.
I think this is for a lot of us our time to shine. You know, we've never had an opportunity like this in 10 scale to really show what we can do. You know, we've always been the people going to unfamiliar surfaces, and now we get the turn of being at home, right? And I think I really hope a lot of us Aussies can do well, and I think that's going to be really cool, especially with obviously you can have a lot of fans and visitors, people traveling from wherever from Australia just to come watch, and I hope us Aussies can give them something.
Yeah, put on a bit of a show
so
for
too.
people watching.
Yep. Brilliant.
No, exactly right. And with that, my voice is starting to crackle, pop, and go away. So it's a bit concerning going into a 2-day race calling weekend. So I will call it a day at that, guys. Now, I really appreciate both of you for jumping on board. Really was a last-minute setup for both of you. I know Scotty had probably a little bit of more time, but not much. But yeah, I really, really appreciate both of you guys jumping on board to have a bit of a chat about previous events, upcoming events, and for Lockie for what is, with any luck, the biggest event held in Australia, and hopefully some of you have a great go at, and we'll all be cheering you on, as you mentioned there, and for sure you put on a decent show. So we're all looking forward to it. But we'll round it up there, and once again, thank you, Lockie, for jumping on.
Thanks for having me on, Mitch.
Not a problem. And same to you, Scotty, as well. Thank you very much for jumping on, mate. And
thanks, buddy. We got there.
Yes, not too long today.
We pressed the buttons. We talked the talk. We told the stories. It's all good. It's all good. Always fun times. Thanks, Mitch.
All righty, guys. We'll sign out. Take care, and good luck at wherever you're racing this weekend or next weekend. See you guys.
See you guys.
See ya. Bye-bye.